All right, welcome back to the Chantay Golson Show, where every entrepreneur and executive want to be included because we talk about strategies to help you to overcome burnout and or prevent burnout. And so welcome to the Chantay Golson Show, where it airs every Thursday. You're hearing from me, myself, an entrepreneur, as well as previous executive. And we are here with our guest, Ben Eden. And I'm going to introduce Ben a bit because I think he has a wealth of knowledge to share with us on today. And so tune in, guys. Go ahead and grab your coffee. Go ahead and turn the radio down. Go ahead and cut off the YouTube because we're going to get into some meaty information here. So let me tell you a little bit about Ben before I bring him in. Now, Ben's company or his organization is called Ben Eden Speaks. And so a little bit about him. Since 2014, Ben has spoken all over the world with messages that raises listener sights and encourage them to receive and achieve greater potential in their particular life. He has a way with words, and so these words helps capture attentions. Now, real life examples and entertaining stories being help listeners understand and acknowledge their emotions so they can turn their pain into power. Now, Ben recently left an executive HR job to dedicate himself full time to bringing his message to life. Welcome, Ben, to the Chantay Golson Show. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You are absolutely welcome. So you previously left an executive HR job. Tell us a little bit about your HR job and your responsibilities, to include what made you move away from that to pivot into your own CEO world.
Sure. Yes, and many people ask me this because I was so far into the HR world. I had my bachelor's, my master's. I was a senior certified professional in HR. I was doing very well there. Mm-hmm. And I had gone from HR intern all the way to running this department at an international company of 2,000 employees. Okay. So I sat on the executive table doing all sorts of things, running everything, right? Mm-hmm. And I worked with people and I helped grow this business, okay? So we started, I've seen how companies begin from the very ground up, writing the policies and training managers and everything else, all the way to towards the end where we were changing strategies because we were international now. And we hired people like a former VP from Walmart with 25 years of experience, or somebody who has been CEO and president of numerous companies.
Right.
So I've worked with people of all levels of experience. And then to answer your question of why in the world did I leave all of that, especially to be a coach and a speaker to talk about emotions. Because I'm telling you, I know that most of the world, especially a lot of business executives and owners, say emotions have no place in work. I just have to focus on numbers. I just have to make this work, and emotions are only going to bring me down. Well, guess what? That last phrase can be true.
Right.
If you don't resolve those emotions, right?
Right.
I can jump into some stories now, or you want me to wait?
Well, you can go ahead and jump into one story, and then we'll go ahead and I'll ask a couple of questions for you.
Okay. For example, let me tell you a perfect example of how this former VP of Walmart did control her emotions and why it was so helpful. And this is the difference that I saw, because some other newer executives or managers didn't control their emotions this way, and I saw the difference. So this person who was successful, so we'd have these executive meetings, and like happens at work, you have all sorts of stressful things that happen, right? Things that you're not prepared for, or things that you would rather not happen. Some customers extremely angry, or what is actually more applicable to us as human beings is when a coworker ticks us off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're in this meeting thinking, look, I have these ideas, I have this capability, and I want to give my idea, and I think it'll work. Mm-hmm. And then our coworker, who's supposed to be our partner and teammate, says, no, that's dumb, or I'm not going to do this, whatever, right?
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Or fights, right? Mm-hmm. So after this meeting, me and this other executive, we were pretty close. And so she opened up to me and she's like, you know what? That meeting ticked me off. But I have to go into my next meeting of my direct reports. And if I stay the way I am right now, my attitude is going to spread to them, and then it's going to spread through the whole company. Why? Because I'm in charge of most of the company.
Right.
Because she realized this and she took the moments to talk to me and to let her emotions go, then she was able to show up how she needed to in the next meeting and not let her attitude spread to the others.
Yeah,
so I'm telling you,
that's perfect. I think that's a perfect statement just there, being able to regulate our moods when things happen throughout the day that emotionally impact us. I think that's phenomenal, because that's actually what I teach. But people think, like you said, emotions does not fit at work. Well, the question is, are you a human? And if you're
right?
human, does your brain and your heart go everywhere you go?
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that's an interesting key point.
No, I love that you bring that up. And in fact, I was listening to some of your other episodes and I'm like, yeah, we totally talk about this. And to your point, we are human, but when we become executives, sometimes we say, no, we leave the human away from work. But all of your employees still have the human. So then they see the executive without the human. And guess what? That's what creates some head bashing.
Right. Executives are so afraid to show empathy, show vulnerability. And while we're not asking you to go around crying, but be able to control your emotions and show a softer side. You cannot be aggressive every day of the calendar week, right? You can't be abrasive. You can't be nonchalant, right? So you've got to have some type of balance there. And so what if one of your staff member comes and says, hey, I've got to go. I've got to go. I have an emergency. I have to go. And they say that their daughter was just in a car accident, and at going to the hospital, she's just frantic. I gotta go. And you say, wait, okay, yeah. Oh, wow. Can you put that report on my desk before you go? So we can see how irrational that is, even though we're laughing about it, because it's insane, right? It sounds insane.
Mm-hmm.
The daughter is in critical condition and you're talking about a report. You can't wait.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Now that reminds me of somebody I was talking to just yesterday. She was very high ranking in a hospital. She was the highest producing doctor there. And she had her best friend pass away all of a sudden. Okay. So she calls her boss and says, hey, I need some time off. And her boss says, well, hold on, let me look for a second. It looks like you took some time off recently.
Yeah.
And I need you to come in. She's like, what? And guess what? That little moment where the boss is just trying to say, well, I need to be productive. The numbers don't show that you can, when in fact she still had, a couple weeks of vacation available. Mm-hmm. She ended up leaving the company.
Yeah. That probably that emotional response that was immediate for her because of the how would I say it, the disconnect between the company and how they viewed her as an employee and the softer human side. So yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, I might myself may have quit.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know, because that emotions. Because what do you do? What do you do? You want me to come and work and people die?
Right.
Because I can't stop crying.
And guess how they're going to be at work, right? They're going to be not paying attention. They're going to be crying. They're going to be disappointed. And then when somebody comes to talk to them, maybe they're going to bite their head off. And they say, well, now what's the deal?
Yeah. So emotions are very important. And it is very important to have strategies and tools that will be able to regulate your emotions when emotional impacts take place. And so that's, again, what I teach about resilience, how to be resilient when emotional impacts take place. So to your point, I think that's very interesting, especially using those examples to show that you've been around some high-end business folks and et cetera. And so you have a key knowledge to understand how to help your particular tribe. So how did you get into coaching and leaving HR?
It's a great story. Great question too. With my HR position, I would speak at least twice a year in front of management groups, right? Because I was on the executive team. So when we had our management conferences, I was one to speak. Okay. I absolutely loved it. And people said, Ben, you do such a great job at this. I'm like, okay. So this started to be in the back of my mind. Maybe I can start doing this more often. And even this VP of Walmart, like I said, she and I were very close. She says, you know what, this is really a talent of yours, and you can make a lot of money doing this. You could make a lot of people happy or helped by doing this. And I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it for the passion. Mm-hmm. So that helped there. And then this idea of emotions came up. And I learned to call it emotional pain, which is unresolved emotions. Mm-hmm. So for example, I saw it from the very highest, my boss, the CEO, and all the executives, what happens when they have unresolved emotions, but also the employees who would come to my office after we have this big push and we say, we're going to do this. This is the company goal. Here we go, rah, rah. Mm-hmm. But then I would see in their eyes what I call emotional pain, something holding them back. And here's something that will hopefully make these business owners and executives really listen. You can spend millions of dollars on motivation and rah-rah and goals, but if you don't resolve these emotions, none of that will have the effect that you want.
Absolutely.
In other words, you can choose to open your car window and let your money fly out, and that'll have the same effect. When instead you can make a little tweak, and guess what that tweak is? Mm-hmm. Allowing these emotions, because we're all human, right, to exist and be resolved. Mm-hmm. Now, like Chantay was saying, it doesn't mean we're all going to let people cry. We're not going to let people hit walls and that kind of expressing emotions. There are better ways, and we'll get to that towards the end of this. I'll give you a very simple tool on how to do that. But what I hope that we realize, because I can speak, I was an executive and now I run my own business. I have to realize when emotions are going to get the best of me, I need to pause and I need to put forth these tools so that they don't run my business.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because what we must realize is, I have 2 points on that. Number one, especially when it comes to men, yes, you do have emotions. Sorry, you do have emotions, right?
Yep.
It's just not a woman thing. Oh, I'm not a crier. Look at her. Oh, she always in her feelings. She can't be a part of the boys. Everybody has emotions. And so you may want to say feelings, or you may want to say thoughts. The point being that all of them take havoc in us when we don't resolve certain things. And so being just like you, I have a story. I have opportunities to hang around lots of millionaires. And so we were at an event, and one of the speakers, he started to talk my language. He started to talk psychology. And he stated basically all of the money that he was making and all of the opportunities he had. And I'm going to shorten the story. It wasn't until he forgave his father for childhood issues that changed the dynamic of his life and his business to where it just flourished. And I was in the audience. Yes, finally, finally somebody understand, right? So to your point, I think that's interesting. Yeah. When we talk about life coaching, what are we really talking about here?
As far as what I do?
As far as what you do containing life coaching.
Sure. So what you said in my introduction, where I take pain to power, where I turn pain into power. This applies to anybody in any walk of life. And now I wanted to make sure that this quote gets into this podcast, where if you've ever heard of Tony Robbins, he's like one of the biggest life coaches there are. And he says when he himself owns 54 companies with a value of $6 billion. And he was talking to his fellow billionaire friends. And the piece of advice that he gave was this. He said, the quality of your life is the quality of your emotions.
Yeah.
If somebody that successful says that to somebody else who's that successful, maybe there's something important there, right? So back to your question with my life coaching. We go through and you say, yeah, what change do you want in your life? How do you feel stuck? What do you want out of your life? Great. And then we make sure that we address the emotions. Why? Because like you and I are talking about, most people, maybe they don't realize that it's emotions that are underlying the problem. But some people, here's a quick example, and really the reason why I got into what I do. Most people look at things like addictions, drugs, alcohol, all of that kind of stuff, the sex, the violence, and even suicide. They look at that and say, what a bad person because of their behavior. But the question we have to look at is, why are they turning to that behavior? It's because of unresolved emotions.
Yeah.
So this can happen to business executives and owners. I even just talked to somebody on a podcast recently who started her business just to prove her ex-husband wrong. So she started with the motivation of anger.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if that continued for the entire business, guess what would happen?
Plummet.
She would either, it would plummet. She would hit burnout. She would do it for the wrong reasons. She'd ruin all sorts of relationships. Luckily, she was able to resolve her anger, and now she does it for passion.
Mm.
That's good. That's more long-term.
Yeah, good.
But if any of the listeners today are saying, yeah, you know what, maybe I did start this business just to prove somebody wrong.
Mm.
Okay, that could be a good motivator at first, but you need to get over that emotion real quick.
Mm.
Otherwise, when things don't work and you start to reach burnout, guess what you're going to turn to? Possibly the alcohol. You're going to try to drink it away. The drugs, you're going to fall into it. Maybe even suicidal thoughts. Now, we don't want any of that.
No.
And when that comes, we think, oh my goodness, I'm just not capable. I had this dream and now I can't do it. So now I'm a terrible person.
Mm-hmm.
But really, we just need to say, okay, what am I feeling? And like Chantay was saying, if we don't like that word feeling because it's too, where emotions are too, no, we don't talk about that. Choose whatever word you want, right? My
Sure.
state isn't great. Awesome. Let's learn how to change it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And one of the key components is recognizing so many people walk day to day throughout their life in mundane or this just place of normacy while it's abnormal on another level. So I talk to I'm a medical provider as well. So I talk to a lot of patients and as well as my clients and coaching clients to help them to understand that there is something called being comfortable within your discomfort.
Mm.
And when you are comfortable within the gates of your discomfort, your behavior exhibits outwards, right? That causes malfunctioning.
Mm-hmm.
What we do in one area of our life, we mostly do in other areas. And so that's why we have to watch out for ourselves. We have to evaluate ourselves and we have to check ourselves. And a lot of times I help people to start that process by writing down your thoughts and your feelings and whatever, good, bad, or I don't even know how I feel thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being stated, what advice do you provide executives on how to manage their emotions at work?
Good. This is, and like you were asking me, we were talking about, okay, what's a quick thing? What's something that will work every time? And I'm actually writing a big presentation about this. It will take you less than 90 seconds to do this. Oh, good. It doesn't have to be a new program. You don't have to hire software. It's something you can do when you need it.
Right.
In fact, I did it, if I needed to, 3 times a day. 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever, right? Here's what you do. For 90 seconds, you say, okay, I may not choose the feelings that come to me, but I can choose the feelings that I keep. Oh, all right. So in these 90 seconds, you just pause and you say, what am I feeling? Am I feeling angst? Am I upset? Am I angry? Am I sad? And am I scared? Guess what? Those are real emotions, even for executives. We might call them something else, like stress.
Yeah.
But we have them. So this is what I did. I came out of my executive meeting, and sometimes those are very frustrating for the reasons that I mentioned, either the coworkers or just the pressure that we're trying to deal with an international company. I would leave that meeting that went long, and I have my department meeting in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, if I stay the way I am, I'm going to bite my employees' heads off. And that's going to go through the entire company. Why? Because we're HR. And we touch all sorts of parts of the company. So what did I do? I said, okay, what am I feeling? I'm going to pay attention to what I'm feeling. Yes, I'm stressed. Yes, I'm angry. I'm upset. I'm annoyed. But what do I need to do to make sure that that doesn't affect my employees? Okay, where did this annoyance come from? Yeah, it was from the meeting. It was from that customer. Do I need to worry about that for the next 2 hours? You know what? I don't. Because somebody else is already going to resolve that. Great. Boom. I can use my executive mind and say, where's that problem going to be solved? Actually, it's going to be solved, so I don't need to worry about it. And because I did this, I was able to start that meeting not allowing those other thoughts and emotions to influence what I was going to do. So all of us can do that in 90 seconds. You just sit, what am I feeling? Do I need to feel this way? If I can resolve it now, great. If I can't, let me schedule a time to resolve it because, sorry, one more thing. If you don't resolve emotions, they're going to stay with us.
Yeah, you suppress them. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we start to turn to those behaviors. So do that thing in the 90 seconds, and I'm telling you, it will make a difference in your business.
I agree. And I call that process altering your thinking. So I understand exactly where you're coming from. Is there another strategy that you can share with the audience that can help them, even in the midst of the strategy that you just shared? What other key points or knowledge base do they need to know to even get to the point of stopping and asking them these questions? Because people are so on the go. And a lot of times emotions go over their head if they're not attentive. So do you have anything that can be applied to the 90-second transformation in helping them to get through those phases? Because some people, unfortunately, are not in tune with their feelings. I help people all day long with that. They don't know the name of feelings, and they call them the wrong feelings. So if they're disappointed, they may call it anger. Well, if it's not anger, then you're not going to resolve it because you're not dealing with the real issue. So kind of help us understand a little bit more. How do we get to the point of stopping? How do we get to the point of asking us those questions? How do we quiet ourselves enough to hear ourselves respond to the feelings? Share a little bit about that.
Okay, it's a good question. And really it comes down to practice, right? Because, yeah, the first time it's not going to go perfectly because you've never done it before.
Mm-hmm.
But something that I watched this executive do, and I did myself, is learn to be okay maybe being 1 minute late or being 1 minute longer in your office before you leave and being okay to close your door. I did this with my employees. Okay, they were sitting outside my office ready for the meeting. I went inside, shut the door for 1 minute and did this. So giving it space, I think, is the most important, right? So, okay, my schedule is packed, 8 to 5 meetings, but I'm going to take this minute because I know that it is important. So there's an aspect. And yeah, with our vocabulary for emotions, I mean, even my how am I trying to say this? Myself, can strengthen my vocabulary with emotions. But you do your best and say, what do I think I'm feeling? Where am I feeling this? And if it's just stress, if that's the best you can call it, then say, great, I'm feeling stress. What can I do about it? And some things that can help. Write it down. Write down whatever you're feeling, no matter how disorganized it is, no matter how dumb it is.
Mm-hmm.
If possible, find somebody you can talk to. This was so helpful for me in my position as HR because I didn't feel like I could talk to my employees about it because that just didn't feel right with that relationship. You know, I'm bugged. No, you're my boss, right?
Right.
But my coworker, this fellow executive I was able to talk to, and she the same to me, and it made a huge difference. So I highly encourage you as an executive and owner, speaking to the audience, right?
Right.
Find somebody either in your business or outside, right? You can use Slack, you can use LinkedIn groups, you can just find a friend and say, oh, you're a fellow business owner, great, let's just chat. Mm-hmm. I learned this now as a business owner of my own company. Sometimes as I'm pushing towards my passion and saying, I know the world needs this, I run into those discouraging moments. Is this really going to work? Why didn't that work? Am I capable? All these thoughts. And then I just have a phone call with somebody and they say, you know what, I feel the same way. And you're like, oh, are you kidding me? Really? I'm not alone in this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Because high-end executives, CEOs, etc., we have this concept of pride, right? This concept of pride. Nobody can see or hear about my weaknesses. Nobody.
Right.
So that's that brings on anxiety because you don't release it. And so if by chance, a lot of people tell me, I just don't have anybody in my life to be that for me, then that is the reason why you reach out for a coach. Now, being as a life coach, I am an executive coach. And so we are out here to help you with wealth of experience. Take note to who you're wanting to bring into your circle and identify if that person is right for you, if they're experienced enough, because I believe in seeking out experienced people, not people who just say they are. That makes sense? Makes sense. We got a lot of people who are saying they are with no evidence, no jurisdiction, right? No life experience that will bring those particular skills. So yeah, I agree with you. Being able to talk it out, being able to write it out, I call that brain dumping. Getting all those thoughts that's coming, that's racing, get them all out. And so your mind can settle so that you can focus. And if you feel like you need to pick something back up, at least you will have it on that piece of paper that you can go back to.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
To the subject of somebody who can relate, right?
Yeah.
So I'm 31 years old, and I grew relatively quickly into the HR world to the point where I would turn to my normal friends, and I just felt like I couldn't relate in a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're saying, as an executive, it can be very lonely up at the top because you're expected to figure out everything, and you can't admit that you don't know something. Right. And so when I would talk, I would go to my HR meetings, my fellow HR people, and I'd be like, so here's what I'm dealing with, yada, yada. And because I was on an international level and they were on a local level, I again felt like I couldn't relate. So that was hard. But to your point, it's extremely helpful and healthy to find somebody who can relate. And that's what you and I do as a coach. We can show with our experience that, hey, we can speak your same language and say, yes, I understand what you've been through. Maybe not exactly done the same thing, but your feelings are valid. I know what you're going through. And guess what? We can get through this together. And just being able to take off that load with somebody who you feel like understands, I'm telling you, that can be the biggest difference in the world.
Yeah, yeah. Even high-powered executives seek out for coaching. I've done the research. I've seen it. I don't necessarily want to call their name, but the head of FedEx, I can name them out. They all sought a coach in those transitional periods.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so, we're here for you. And so I appreciate you being here and having this wealth of conversation. And you are an author. Can you tell us about your book and where can we find your book?
Absolutely. I helped author this book with 15 other business owners and speakers. It's called Fortitude, the Anthology for Overcomers. Okay. So I know it's a high-powered title, but it's really like chicken soup for the soul kind of book. 15 different stories from different owners that say, here's how you overcome the challenges of life. We all need it. And so these are inspirational stories to help you in your business and say, okay, could I learn something from this? It really helps us get through those transitional points. Where that can be found, it should be on Amazon any day now. We're waiting just for that, that button to be pushed.
Okay.
But again, Fortitude, the Anthology for Overcomers.
Okay. All right. And where can people find you on social media?
Anywhere under Ben Eden Speaks. Website, social media, anything.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I want to share with you guests on the Chantay Golson Show. We air every Thursday, and so I want you to stay tuned, log it in your calendar, tell a friend, tell a neighbor. We are here to help this specific niche in maintaining efficiency and productivity and wealth and mental wellness. And so you can find a lot more about me on all social medias at Executive Burnout Recovery Coach. In addition to that, you can go to www.coachchantay.com, Chantay, and it will be in the description for you. So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your time. We know you don't have a lot, so that's why we're keeping it short for you. Take care for now. Bye.